and everything else related to the NCAA Men's Ice Hockey Championship. We now welcome in Paul Caponigri, our own Big Ten Network analyst, who also was on the call for that Minnesota matchup last night. Paul, great to see you. And first of all, how is Sioux Falls treating you? You're doing some mall walking, you mentioned?
You know, hey, it was a little cold, so the only way to get some exercise inside, I'm staying right by a mall, so yes, I was a mall walker. You got me on that one.
Hey, there's no shame in being a mall walker. It's very cold. You got to get your exercise in. All right, well, let's start out with the matchup last night that you were on the call for. Minnesota taking down Omaha 3-2. They're able to battle back. They were able to capitalize on a couple of turnovers they forced. But to you, from your vantage point, what was the key to them overcoming a couple of deficits?
Yeah, I mean, they're older veteran players. Their leaders stepped up. Justin Close was outstanding in goal all night long. Especially at the end when Omaha was coming with a barrage down 3-2. But the dynamic duo last night, they've been fantastic for the Gophers their whole career. But Jackson Nelson and Bryce Brodzinski on those two goals, I mean, you could feel it in the building. The Gopher fans were getting worried, down 2-1. It was getting late in the game. And Bryce Brodzinski created that play on the 2-2 goal. And then they got a little lucky on a turnover for the game-winning goal, but those guys took advantage of it, and that's what great players do. But those three guys specifically really stepped up for the Gophers when they needed it the most last night.
Minnesota able to withstand a couple of those Omaha runs, just did such a good job. And you mentioned that veteran leadership, so important when it comes to being able to have that resilience. Now, looking ahead, Minnesota faces Boston University on Saturday with a trip to the Frozen Four on the line. What are you looking for in that match?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's two highly skilled teams. I think it's going to be a better matchup, honestly, for Minnesota in terms of the style of play. But Boston University is, they've been in the top three all season long. They are one of the most skilled teams in the country. This is a rematch of the Frozen Four semifinal last year where the Gophers were able to win that game. And they were the more skilled and better team this year. I think it's the roles are a little reversed. Can the Gophers win? Absolutely. But BU has got a dynamic freshman who's going to be the #1 draft pick in the NHL next year. His name is Macklin Celebrini. He's 17 years old. Helen, shouldn't even be in college yet, but he has 32 goals in 37 games, I believe. Either way. He's a dynamic forward, along with him and Lane Hudson are the two key components for them. But I like, in terms of game style, I like this matchup more for Minnesota. It's just they're going to have another big game from that trio I talked about. And Jimmy Snuggerud is the guy I'm looking for to step up for the Gophers. 21 goals on a season, but he is right on the cusp of, if he can get one early, his confidence will soar. And I think he's a key component for them to advance to the Frozen Four.
That should be an exciting matchup. Once again, Minnesota facing Boston University on Saturday. Now, 3 more Big Tens will be playing on this Friday. Let's start with top-seeded Michigan State taking on 4th-seeded Western Michigan. Spartans are having an excellent season. Head coach Adam Nightingale has done such an incredible job in just his second season, really turning this program around. They're Big Ten champions. But they have not played in the NCAA tournament in more than a decade, and that experience does pay dividends when it comes to these close contests. How much do you expect that to impact this team?
Yeah, I mean, you saw it last night, right? Like I talked about with Minnesota, their experience kind of helped them at the end. Their experienced players were big for them. Michigan State is kind of just they're doing a lot of things this year that they haven't experienced, but they keep having success at them, and I think that's a big credit goes to Adam Nightingale and the culture in such a short time that he's built. Now, having said that, Western Michigan was in the NCAA tournament last year. Michigan State wasn't, so they have a little more experience. So that part, you favor Western Michigan, but the talent-wise and culture-wise, Michigan State can compete with anybody. It's going to be a tough one, but why wouldn't I pick them now? They've kind of answered to every test they've had this year already. So I'm expecting the same from them, but it's going to be a tough game. Very two evenly matched teams. It's a 1 versus 4, but in the NCAA tournament for hockey, there's only 16 teams that make it. So you're looking at two teams that were right in the middle of the rankings all season. So it's going to be a tight game, but I like what Michigan State brings to the table.
To continue the point about experience, MSU freshman goaltender Trey Augustine has been fantastic all season long. Fourth in the nation right now in saves, also was the Big Ten tournament's most outstanding player. But once again, you're looking at a player who's still new to this situation. What do you need to see from him between the pipes?
You know what's funny about him? He's a freshman, but he's probably the guy I'm least worried about on their team because of I think he's at his international experience in the past as a 16, 17, 18-year-old. He's played in a lot of big games. I've mentioned this 100 times this year. He won the gold medal with the World Junior team in Sweden against Sweden this year in front of 11,000 fans against them. And he was the backbone for Team USA. So I don't think he's going to play in a game with more importance than that, maybe equal to it, but clearly he was up to the challenge there. So I don't see him being, I think he's going to be the key to another key to Michigan State success and maybe the leader in driving that confidence.
That's where you see that international experience makes such a huge difference for these players competing at the NCAA level. Now on to another big matchup, Wisconsin taking on the defending national champion Quinnipiac. And the Badgers are a team very familiar with the NCAA tournament, but they're coming back off of a couple of weeks break after being eliminated early on in the Big Ten tournament. They were upset by Ohio State. How much do you think that will affect how the Badgers come out in this one?
Yeah, I mean, it's a huge unknown, obviously. I think, but you can look back on another team in the Big Ten just last year. Penn State had this same exact scenario where they got ousted in the first round and had about 3 weeks off. And they came in at the NCAA tournament and won 8-1 in the regional semifinal and then lost to Michigan in overtime. They're one goal away from reaching the Frozen Four. And I know Coach Mike Hastings spoke with Keith Fisher, who's an assistant at Penn State, kind of getting maybe a little advice, on what Penn State did to do in that 3-week time, because it's an unprecedented thing that most coaches never have to deal with. So I think they're going to have a ton of energy. Obviously, they've had plenty of rest time, but it'll be interesting to see how they come out with that energy comboed with the rust of not playing a game in 3 weeks.
It also needs to be pointed out these two teams bring in two of the best scoring defenses in the country, only averaging about 2 goals they're giving up per game. What's going to be the difference in this matchup?
Yeah, I mean, it's probably a matter of when you have teams like that is keeping it simple, not overplaying the puck. Don't turn it over. If they're not giving up much, you don't want to give up much, right? So limit the turnovers. I love Kyle McClellan, and that has been the best goaltender in the country all year. You look at the stats, 7 shutouts, a .931 save percentage. Those are ridiculous numbers. Trust in your goaltender, and then make it simple on offense. Put pucks at the net. The cliches of all hockey, put pucks on net, get guys in front of their goaltender, make life difficult. But it's going to probably be a game on an ugly goal, just getting the lucky bounce. But if Wisconsin can find a way to get this game, man, the sky's the limit for them, because their confidence will grow and they're going to be a fresh team. They haven't played in 3 weeks, but once you get a game under your belt, if you can advance, look out for the Badgers.
It has to be a little bit of a confidence boost as well, having the Big Ten goaltender of the year and Kyle McClellan, as you pointed out, back between the pipes. That should be a really fun matchup. Last matchup of this Friday, coming up at 7:30 p.m. Central, 8:30 Eastern, is going to be third-seeded Michigan taking on second-seeded North Dakota. This Wolverines team just lost a heartbreaker in the Big Ten tournament championship to Michigan State. Do you expect any of that to carry over into this NCAA tournament, or was there anything they could take away from that?
I mean, I expect that the carryover is they played great. They lost in overtime on the road at a Crazy Mun ice arena with Michigan State fans on a goal that was, a wrist shot from the point. So they weren't getting outplayed. It was a great play for Michigan State to get the goal. But Michigan State they both played good games. But Michigan, we're talking about, played a really good game, and they had been playing great hockey leading up into that game. So aside from, the down of not winning the Big Ten championship, aside from that, they got to be coming in as a very confident bunch right now, the way they played all the way through March, because they were fighting for their NCAA at-large life. Early March, it was like they're right on the bubble. And then they won 4 to 6 games in a row. They beat Notre Dame 2 weekends 4 times that really elevated them. Then they beat Minnesota in Mariucci on the road. So they're playing really good hockey. So I think, yes, you're unhappy with losing that game, but their confidence right now has to be really high.
So a lot of confidence, plus the top 3 scoring offense in the country for Michigan bodes well as they have a Friday night matchup against second-seeded North Dakota up ahead. Well, Paul, thanks so much for joining us. Appreciate the time. Go get back to your mall walking. Get in a couple more laps before you get back on some of the broadcasts.
You got it. Thanks, Kylan.
Great to have Paul on the show. Next, Caitlin Clark named to the Team USA training camp roster and reportedly receives a separate $5 million offer. Christie is back to explain the big week for the Iowa Star.